What's up, everybody? It's your boy JP, back again with another video, and this is a continuation of my Motorola extravaganza. Now, as promised, I'm going to do my overview now on the Motorola Edge X30 5G. This phone, again, if I haven't already said it a million times in my previous videos, is the world's first phone powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor. This is going to be the processor that's going to power most of your big ticket, big name, premium flagship phones of 2022. I have it already right here, the day before Christmas, 2021, December 24th. I've had it for 2 days since Wednesday. I got the firmware update out of the box, day one for me. So my opinions are going to differ a lot from some reviewers who reviewed the phone before the update and didn't have had a less than par experience. Okay, this phone is just blazing fast. Qualcomm has finally came out with something that exceeds Apple's latest and greatest. They beat them to the 4 nanometer race. You're gonna have to wait another year to see if Apple exceeds the 5 nanometer technology that is using the A15 Bionic. A lot of people thought that they were. I think a year ago, even before the iPhone 13s came out, they said that was what they were gunning for. They were actually gunning for 3 nanometers, as I said in my previous video. But nonetheless, it's 3 gigahertz for the main core. It has a main Cortex X2 chipset. Then it has 3 Cortex 710 processors, and then it has 4 Cortex 510 processors. And I may be missing a letter, like it may be A710 and it may be 720, not 710. A510, or 510 alone, or 520. So don't beat me up too hard here. It's an all-new chipset. I don't quite have it memorized, but what I do know is that the primary performance core is a Cortex X2 clocked at 3 gigs. As y'all know, the Snapdragon 888 was a 2.8 gig Cortex X1 processor. The Tensor actually had 2 Cortex X1 processors. The Snapdragon 888 Plus took that single Cortex X1 processor and upgraded its speed from 2.8 to 3 gigs. The Google Tensor chip actually has 2 Cortex X1 processors, built in to its octa-core setup. But right here is the first Cortex X2 chipset. It's still a single, but the X2 is obviously better than the X1. Pretty sure it's better than 2 X1s at that. The way that this thing is scoring on Antutu anyway, especially with the proper firmware update. Definitely a million point, device. This thing is just blazing. It does have these new camera sensors. I think they're from Samsung because they were highly raved about before this phone came out. And it was rumored that this phone was going to be the first with them, not just the first with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor, but the first with Samsung's new 50 megapixel shooter. And if I'm not mistaken, 2 of the 3 lenses on the back are 50 megapixel shooters. Now, if both of them are completely identical, I don't quite remember, but at least one of them is supposed to be the all-new one from Samsung that Motorola used here first. If I'm, now I may have that completely wrong. So don't be afraid to correct me in the comments, because as many of you know, I'm not, I do love a great camera phone, but I'm not great. Camera specs are probably my weakness, if anything else. But this phone, let's see, it does have what Motorola is calling turbo UFS 3.1, and it also has turbo LPDDR5 RAM. It has 8 gigs. It is expandable to 3 gigs with the virtual RAM technology to bump this up to 11 gigs. They do have a model that comes with 12 gigs out of the box, and with the 3 gig virtual RAM upgrade, of course, obviously that would bump it up to 15 gigs. Very odd numbers here, 11 and 15. But previous Motorola phones with the virtual RAM, including that phone right there, the Moto G200, only had a 2 gig virtual RAM expansion. This phone has 3 gigs of a virtual RAM expansion. And I've used other Motorola phones that also only had, 2 gigs like that phone over there. I had the Snapdragon, what was it? The Snapdragon 768G powered Edge 2021 edition for the U.S. market, and it had the virtual RAM expansion option on that phone was 2 gigs. So, and of course, that phone right there, over there, the G200 has a Snapdragon 888 Plus, which is substantially more powerful than the Edge 2021. It sticks also with just, an expansion of 2 gigs of virtual RAM. But this phone over here with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 has 3 gigs of expandable virtual RAM. So, again, being that this is the 8 gig model, it bumps that up to 11 gigs. As far as actual expandable, memory, not RAM, but memory, there is no expandable, there's no micro SD card slot. This phone has, I think, let's see, I'm having to read my box. Yeah, okay. Okay, this phone has 128 gigs of internal memory. Again, it is 3.1 UFS. For some reason, Motorola calls it Turbo UFS 3.1. And that's all. And they also add turbo to the RAM technology as well, as I've already stated. But again, there's no expandable memory. So whenever I'm talking about expandable RAM, I'm talking about the virtual RAM upgrade. That a lot of these phone manufacturers are starting to use, like Xiaomi, Oppo, Motorola. I think those are the 3 brands that I know of that have been doing it at least since the summer. ZTE was actually doing it too. I forgot about that. Yeah, because the Axon 30 had it. They didn't have that feature on their gaming phones, but the Axon 30 had it. And I actually think that they allow the most. And I think Realme is a runner-up to having the most expandable virtual RAM options. Xiaomi's third, and then Motorola is definitely the lowest. Xiaomi lets you add 3 to 5. Motorola, up until literally now with this phone, is only allowed for 2, now 3. But Oppo allows 3 to, at one time it was 3 to 5, now it's 3 to 7. And then ZTE allows up to 8. But I know a lot of people think that that's a gimmick, so I'm not gonna really stay on that for any longer here. This phone has a 6.7 inch 20:9 144 hertz full HD plus, either an E4 or possibly even an E5 Samsung produced Super AMOLED panel. And it is absolutely freaking gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. It's definitely an E4. I really think it's an E5, as I've already said in my other video. Honestly, though, for $600, I'd be okay if it was an E3. But I know it's at least an E4 because the punch hole is just ultra small, like a lot of those Xiaomi phones were this year. I almost said last year, just because the processor in this phone is literally from the future. And it really has me feeling like it's already 2022 when it's not even Christmas yet. I mean, so we still have another week and a day of 2021 to go, and I'm already here freaking overviewing a phone with next year's premium processor of choice, which is just freaking awesome to me. But this phone does not have wireless charging, but it does have it does have 68 watt wired charging, which is an odd number. Well, for charging anyways. I realize 68 is not an odd number, but for charging it is. I don't remember seeing a 68 watt. I don't remember seeing a phone with 68 watt charging speed. I've seen 66 and 65, and even 66 was odd. That was out of the Red Magic 6S Pro, if I'm not mistaken, from Nubia. 65 I've seen tons of, but 66 was odd with that phone. But then we have here 68 from Motorola here. And you see it's a USB Type-C to USB Type-C. So it uses power delivery, obviously. And just using a regular USB Type-A to USB Type-C it was either one of, I think it was a Xiaomi GAN charger that is up to 55 watts. This phone charges very fast with that. So I imagine with this, it charges even faster, and I'm definitely going to try it out here. Here's the plug here. I don't want to, it was already kind of undone there a little bit there. I didn't want to, the little thing was hasn't been undone, obviously, but it's wanting to come apart there. I wasn't ready to take it apart yet. But there's that. Put that back in there. I am going to test that out, though, because that's really cool, 68 watt. And I love how they have it printed on the charger. That's awesome. And again, it is power delivery as well, as you can see, Type-C to Type-C. I'm definitely gonna be testing that out here pretty soon. But if I can get it back in the box, there we go. Really cool back design. It's a very matte. It's a matte finish. I love it. It's different from this phone over here, the Moto G200 right here. Very different. They look very similar from a distance. They look very similar from a distance. Maybe just a different shade of color, which a lot of people would think would be the only difference. They would think, oh, it's the same phone, just different color. But of course, surely manufacturers wouldn't release, phones with multiple color options, and for two to be that closely and that close in relation. But this phone right here is also a matte finish. The G200 right here, it's also a matte finish. Right here, I can't get the name out here. The Edge X30 is a little bit more slippery. Just a tad bit more, not by much, but you notice that the G200 here, you can see the fingerprints a little bit more so than you can here, because you can't really see them at all over here, whereas over here you can. But it's not that bad. The camera is kind of making them look worse than they really are. But, of course, we'll put that aside over there. A lot of people aren't liking the fact that Motorola adds their logo right there, which is very tasteful, but then proceeds to kind of ruin it with their script down here at the bottom, because it kind of defeats the purpose of one or the other, because we know that means Motorola. Everyone knows that. Who doesn't? You're living under a rock if you don't. So you don't have to spell your name out down here. It doesn't really bother me too much like it does other people that I saw in reviews, though. But again, this is the camera setup right here. It's an all-new 50 megapixel sensor, 16 megapixel on the front. They are going to have a special edition under display model where all of the other specs match, including the front-facing camera. It'll still be 16 megapixels. It'll just be hidden under the display. I don't know if that's going to be a Chinese-only variant, or if that one's also going to reach global. This one, of course, will at some point reach global as the Motorola Edge 30 Ultra. As I stated in my previous video, they're going to take the X away from X30 and add Ultra to the end, 30 Ultra. This does run Android 12, as you can see here from the setting, from the from the drop down. It looks very, you can tell it's just like the Pixel 6 series, and it's let's see, dun, dun. Let's see, where's I don't even know if there it is right there. Yeah, Android 12 right there. But yeah, I mean, this phone, again, it feels just like the Pixels, the Pixel 6, Pixel 6 Pro, which I have extensive experience with. Love those phones. Android 12 is just, to me, vastly better than Android 11. When I make the switch from Android 10 to Android 11, it was great, but I didn't really notice that, it wasn't that big of a deal to me. But Android 12 is great. I mean, I absolutely love it. Again, I have been able to use this phone after the update, and it's phenomenal. I mean, I had no experience with it prior to the update, because the update was available right when I got the phone on Wednesday. So, be careful what reviews you watch and read. Make sure they aren't ones that were before the update. I think they were just kind of, I think everyone, including myself, just wanted to be one of the first to be able to review a phone with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor, and a lot of them were so rushed because a lot of these phones are known to come out with day one updates, or at least week one updates. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they almost always do. Almost every Xiaomi and Realme phone I've had an update out of the box. You know, Motorola, you know, isn't exempt from that. You know, they, you know, if need be, they can do that as well. And, you know, because Motorola themselves rushed this phone out. If you actually go and watch the videos that people have done on this phone before that update, you can tell that even they rushed it. They just wanted to be the first to release the phone with that, you know, with that 2022 Qualcomm premium processor. And I don't blame them. You know, it's a common mistake. And, you know, and that's kind of what's great about our technology today, is that it can be fixed with a software update. Okay, it doesn't have to come out of the box perfect. Granted, you don't want to feel like a beta tester. I realize that too, which I think some of those reviewers felt like. You know, but the fact that a firmware update was available for this phone is right when I got it, and it was a pretty hefty update. I installed it, and this phone has been working like a dream. I haven't had any of the glitches or heat ups or, you know, what have you. You know, I haven't had any of those issues, you know, since using this phone. I have absolutely loved it. I mean, it literally feels like a Pixel 6 Pro for the price of a Pixel 6. Again, $599 from Giztop, and it has an even better chipset. You know, the Tensor, you know, is kind of in between the Snapdragon 870, sometimes better than the Snapdragon 888, depends what benchmark you're using. You know, my personal opinion, I love the Tensor. I do think it's better than the Snapdragon 888. You know, and as far as the 888 Plus, we'll kind of just put that off to the side. You know, it's, you know, that's kind of a, you know, it's you know, hard to really touch on there. But as far as the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, this thing is on a whole nother level than the 888 Snapdragon. And I mean, this is just, you know, again, it's a 4 nanometer instead of a 5, because even the Tensor is still a 5. The Snapdragon 870 is a 7 nanometer processor. You know, your best of the best Dimensity 1200 and its different variants, the 1200 AI, the 1200 Ultra, the newly released Dimensity 1200 Max. They're 6 nanometer chipsets. Now, of course, the Dimensity 1200's successor, the Dimensity 9000, is a 4 nanometer chipset. They skipped over 5. Well, I won't say they skipped the 5 nanometer process, because I think the Dimensity 8000, which was formerly known as the Dimensity 7000, is a 5 nanometer chipset. So they weren't late to the 5 nanometer party. They were early for the 4 nanometer and just were late for the 5 nanometer. We'll just say it like that. But this processor, though, for as far as Qualcomm goes, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 has just been blazing. I haven't experienced any of the glitches. It is an absolute dream, an absolute beast. I have done PS2 emulation. I have done Nintendo Switch emulation. This thing is just rock solid. 5G on AT&T on this phone has worked right out of the box. I put my SIM in it. It gets 4G LTE. Give it about 3 or 4 minutes, and then boom, it switches over to 5G. I haven't had to use any app like Force LTE, which is actually what I've had to use on that phone right there, the Moto G200, to get 5G to work on it. And and as y'all know, if y'all watched my videos within the past year and a half, I've had to do that on numerous, I've had to do it less and less on Xiaomi phones. But at one time I had to do it on all of them, and I had to do it on all of Oppo and Realme phones. But even those, I'm having to do it less and less on. Oddly enough, the US the US variant, or I should, you know, the Edge. What am I trying to say here? The Motorola Edge. The Motorola Edge 2021, which, you know, was made for the U.S. market. You know, I had to use Force LTE to get 5G to work on it with AT&T. You know, out of the box. You still do today, if I'm not mistaken, unless an updates came out since then to rectify that. I haven't had the phone since, you know, to try it. I had it for like maybe 2 months and then I sold it. You know, but that was a phone made for the U.S. market, and it didn't get 5G on AT&T without using the Force LTE app. It got 5G with T-Mobile, but for AT&T, you had to do some trickery. And you know, which I expect with foreign phones, but not a phone meant for the U.S. But OnePluses are like that too, though. It's as if it's like they have special deals with T-Mobile. That kind of blocked them from getting that 5G on AT&T for whatever reason, even though you bought an unlocked version or an unlocked variant. But as far as this phone right here, the more powerful one, this phone right here, 5G just works, and with the Google Play services installed, side loaded, it works like a US phone. It works like a global phone, I should say, not necessarily a US phone, but a global phone, not a Chinese variant. It's stock Android. It's Android 12. I mean, you know, I realize that the Pixel experience isn't quite stock Android, but this is almost like the Pixel experience, more so than stock Android, because this is exactly how the Pixel 6 runs, and I still have my Pixel 6. I haven't gotten rid of it. This is exactly how it runs. I've actually had even more fun with this phone because it's still the newest. I mean, it's the only other phone with Android 12 out of the box besides the Pixels. I know that a lot of Samsungs have gotten the Android 12 update, but none of them come with it out of the box. This phone has it out of the box, and it is phenomenal. Again, you know, it has 8 gigs of turbo LP DDR5 RAM. It has the 3 gigs of expandable virtual RAM. It has 128 gigs of a turbo UFS 3.1 storage. There is a 128 gig option with 12 gigs of physical RAM. You know, 3 gigahertz Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. You know, the processor, the big daddy of 2022. You know, ultra thin design. You know, it's not called edge anymore because, you know, for the screen sloping over the edge like in a waterfall design, because it does not do that. It is flat, but it's edge because it is the bezels are very thin. You know, the phone itself is very thin. It's very lightweight. It feels fantastic in the hands. Its build quality is amazing. It does come with a case over there if you need it. They're a clear TPU. Love the color on this phone too. Very eye-catching. The camera is catching it perfectly here. It does have a side-mounted fingerprint sensor. It's not an under-display fingerprint sensor, which is fine. It works great. It works phenomenal. It doubles as the power button. You got your volume rocker there. You have your Google Assistant button right there. USB Type-C. I don't think it's stereo. I think it's just mono. I could be wrong about that, though. Don't hold me to that. But it doesn't have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, unfortunately. I know a lot of people, you know, that's a big deal to a lot of people. You know, it is a 6.7 inch Super AMOLED, either an E4 or an E5 panel, you know, produced by Samsung. 144 hertz, not 120 hertz, but 144 hertz refresh rate. Full HD plus 1080p, obviously. This phone is just rock solid, man. It really is. I just, you know, I hope y'all really enjoyed it. I hope y'all really enjoyed this little overview. And just, you know, I got a couple more coming up. I'm going to do one on the Moto G200 there and the Moto Watch 100. And y'all stay tuned for those. I just wanted to release the best one first. And I'll see you on the next videos. Peace out. And you know what? Before I go, let me just give you a little, let me just let y'all look at the system here a little bit here. Just to kind of give y'all an idea of everything here. Just want to, just so everyone can see here, you know. It does have the always-on display, the Moto display feature. I want to take a look at everything here. This phone does also have a It's either a 525 touch sampling rate or a 575 touch sampling rate. I mean, the phone is a gaming beast. Let me just say that. And an emulation beast. But, yeah. I'll give y'all other view here. But, you know, hope y'all enjoyed that there. Kind of, you know, go over everything. I know I talk so much and I don't go over enough sometimes, or a lot of times. But, there we go, y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about the world's first Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 powered smartphone. Peace out.